Umbrella Academy Season 4 released not that long ago, and we all know it did not open to very positive reviews. But I still thought it would be fun to check out some of the fans' opinions on the show, given the fact that this is the final season and this is where the story ends. Thankfully, many people have shared their thoughts and ideas in my previous Umbrella Academy videos, and so we will be taking a look at those. Before we start though, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe. I make videos on the Umbrella Academy as well as many other popular shows like The Boys, Doctor Who, Supernatural, and more. So if you like this video, you will probably like them as well. So let's just get straight into checking out what you guys think of Umbrella Academy Season 4. Season 3 is where it ends, where Reggie resets the world and they all live normal lives. Clearly not too positive an opinion on Season 4. Season 3 being the end, I would not have liked having an open-ending end where you have no clue what has happened to these characters. But if you think about it a bit more, it does seem like a more happy ending if people did not like the devastating one we got in this season. Incredibly disappointing. Straight to the point. I mean, I feel like a lot of people share that opinion. I have seen many comments basically along this lines, and whilst I don't share the same opinion, I can 100% see where you guys are coming from. Pathetic. Well, that's even shorter. That's only one word this time. I wouldn't go as far as saying it's pathetic. Like, there is a story there. It is a good story, despite not being executed properly. It's not the worst attempt I've seen at a final season. An incoherent storyline covered in wasted potential. You know what? That actually kind of sums it up. I did enjoy the season, but it was a confusing storyline. Whether it would have been less confusing had they had more time to explain it, I don't know, but what we got is hard to wrap your head around, and it is full of wasted potential. There's so much they could do. If you've seen any of my other videos, I love the multiversal railway. Why was that not in here more? It should have been more involved in the plot, and overall it really wasn't used much, except to push the Lila and Five relationship that everybody hates. I agree with this comment fully. Rushed and felt unfinished. Again, this one I can agree with. I enjoyed the season, but it did feel rushed. Unfinished in the sense that there was definitely more they wanted to tell, but this was their best attempt at telling the story they wanted with the budget cuts and with the episode cuts. So it's sort of 50-50 on this comment for me. I wish they just revealed it was all a dream. Now, I don't know if I can agree with that one. I do like the ending of this season with them having to sacrifice themselves for literally everything that ever existed. It's fitting. I feel like that would have annoyed me if it was all a dream. Wasted potential because of the lesser amount of episodes. 100%. I don't think anyone can really disagree with that. Even if you are someone that enjoys the season, there's definitely more they could have done with the concepts they presented. Again, the multiversal railway. We also had Jean and Jean, having them with the keepers. Like, having objects and pretty much anything cross over from different realities into this one is just such a cool idea that they could play with, and that wasn't used much either. Having more to do with Durango and Marigold would have been quite cool. There's so much here that almost only had the surface touched, and I just wish we had more of each of them. I know most didn't, but I loved it. I don't know if I would use the same word for me, but I really enjoyed the season. I would easily rewatch it. I like all the ideas presented. It went out with a whimper and not a bang. Now, I would partially agree with this, maybe in a different sense. I believe the comments kind of referring to the ending being terrible, the season being terrible, the characters being terrible, like literally everything just not working. But for me, I feel like the whimper part comes from the fact that it is a sad ending. Like, I still think the ending was good, but it definitely was not a bang. It was not this over-the-top fight scene that was full of action with an ending where they all go off living their happy lives. No, it was a whimper. It was sad. And so this statement to me is kind of true, but probably not in the same way that they're thinking. Felt like bad fan fiction. Now that's an impressive insult. I would hate being the show's creatives behind this and hearing that. Especially considering that people behind this season are still the same people behind seasons 1 and 2, which are probably everybody's favourite for the most part. I refuse to say that it is that bad of a season that you can call it bad fan fiction from like professional writers and creatives. I think it's more the behind the scenes stress and struggles they had that caused it to feel this way. But even with that, it is not the worst thing I've ever watched. Not even close. A good ending despite what most say, but it is rushed. The Five and Lila affair was disgraceful writing and should never have happened. So, another positive one. I definitely agree with the first half. I actually think the ending's really solid. I like what they did with this, and it is definitely rushed, even though it felt very slow-paced for a finale. So, the Five and Lila thing, I personally actually didn't mind in the show, and I had a video I made the other day that discusses that. So, if you haven't seen it, click the card up there, go watch it. It's a great video. But I don't think it should never have happened. I just feel like it naturally fit fit into the plot they were going with. The plot should have never got to the point where they had a relationship, but because it got to the situation it had with them being stuck in the multiversal railway for 6 years, it fully felt believable to me. Could have been better, longer even. And yeah, it could have. I wish it was longer. The 10 episodes just feels right, and everything in this season that people have issues with, I truly believe would have been better no matter what had we had more time. Should have been 10 episodes to flesh out the story and answer questions, and that's another one. Yes, it should have been 10 episodes. There are so many questions we still have. The story definitely wasn't complete. I wish we had that. And it's really annoying that we didn't get that, because the ending of the show could have been so good. Would have been better for everyone if I had never been born, is a very common thought. I didn't much like it as the conclusion to a fun, quirky superhero story. Now, saying this is a trope to me is odd. I don't think I've seen it often enough for it to be a trope. And the way this is phrased, at least to me, makes it sound a bit more depressive. Like, they don't want to exist. These characters in this show want to exist. They just can't. Otherwise, the multiverse and this planet will be destroyed. Not liking it as a conclusion to the fun and quirky superhero story, that's fair. It probably felt like it might go to this bombastic ending because of how over the top this show can be. For me, I feel like it fit the story and themes that the show has, but that's fair enough. So the whole show meant nothing. There's definitely one way to look at it, but it's just a more negative approach. You still got to watch those 4 seasons. It just ends in their sacrifice for the multiverse, and I don't think that means it means nothing. It wasn't a finale that was all sad. It still had that great optimistic feeling at the end, because we see everybody that was done wrong throughout the season get their normal lives back, and seeing that was great. We still don't know a damn thing about Reggie. Well, that's kind of true. I feel like there's still so many questions we don't have answered, and I did talk about this a lot in another video. I just don't get how we ended with so many questions still, despite having 4 seasons. Steve Blackman has said that one of his main aims for season 4 was to reveal a lot of his backstory, and I still don't feel like we got that. And yeah, this comment's right. I think it was planned for every season to have 10 episodes, and that having 4 more would have solved this bad season. The season being bad, general opinion, that's established, but 4 more episodes, even if you liked it, this season would have only got better. I loved everything we had, but the thing I hated was the explanations and the lack of them. If we had 4 episodes, that 100% would have been there. We just really needed that more time this season. This show was the victim of cramming everything into 6 episodes. They also seem to change the personalities of the characters a little too much. I get personal growth, but they are too far removed from who we knew them to be. Even though the story felt like it should and could have been wrapped up in 6 episodes, by the end it did feel like it's just been squeezed in there a little bit. The change of personalities of characters, they have changed. They are very different. They have spent 6 years, not all together, doing their own thing, trying to live a normal life in this not so normal world that Reginald has a lot of power over, and so they are naturally going to be different to when we ended in season 3. It's copied the Game of Thrones playbook. Fewer episodes because of the budget, 2 years in production time, and trying to set up for future spin-offs. Now, I've never seen Game of Thrones. I've heard everything about the season 8. I know what happened with that, but the fewer episodes because of the budget, that is a thing that has happened, and that is unfortunate. The 2-year production time, I feel like it didn't need to be, especially when you've got like season 1 and 2 that were just spammed out at the time. Setting up for future spin-offs, although I don't think they've really left it open to them. I do want to talk about these, and I will be doing that in a future video, so stay tuned for that. But I think that brings us to a good point to stop, so let's call it there. I think we've seen enough comments where we got a nice diverse view of what everybody thinks of this season, and maybe you've got some insight into why certain people think what they do. With that said though, hopefully you have enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.